All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the October Park and Rec meeting. Before we get started, we can do a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So I'll just go over the agenda quick. We have commissioner updates. We have a skeleton crew tonight. We're missing a couple members, so that should probably actually be quick. Acceptance of some meeting minutes, and then we will review the Long Lake Summer for 2019. We'll review that. We will have a discussion about the beach. I assume some people are here to participate in the public forum regarding the beach. So we have an agenda item to vote on policies and rates. I don't think, and I'll entertain some discussion on this from my other commissioners that are here. I don't think I want to do that tonight. I want to at least have, I'd like to have a full board ideally. So, and I'll, bounce it off you and Tim as well if you need us to do that in order to get rates out and stuff for the brochures. We can have that discussion as well. If we have to vote, I suppose we can, but I would like a consensus on the policies and the rates. Okay. Then we will, we have an update on Park and Rec article for Fall Town Meeting. Next on the agenda is a discussion of Cooper Farm parcels A and parcel B. We have done some research as far as whether or not we would be able to swap those parcels. The parcel designated for active recreation appears to be smaller than what we would need. So we did a walkthrough, but nothing has moved on that. So I'm gonna entertain a motion to table that when we get there and hopefully discuss it at a future meeting. Then we'll go on to the director's report. We'll have a discussion on the 5-year capital plan for Park and Rec, and then we will go over some of the events. We just had Oktoberfest this past Saturday, and we have some upcoming events as well. So we'll do that as well. So, commissioner updates. I don't know if you could.
Being recorded.
Oh yes, thank you. So it's been communicated to us that any meetings now that are recorded, which we're being recorded on LCTV. If anyone in this meeting or any other meetings for that matter want to record for your own purposes, that's fine, but you have to notify the people in the meeting. So that's the town administrator asked us to communicate that to people at our meeting. She mentioned it last night at the Board of Selectmen meeting as well. So if you have issues with that, you have to take it up with her. I'm not exactly sure where that came from or what that's about.
It's always been a law.
Yeah, so disclaimer there, that's out of the way. So commissioner updates. I don't know if you guys had any meetings that you participated in since the last one that you need to update us on.
No, nothing from Space Needs.
I have nothing to report.
All right, okay. I haven't been to any meetings. I know it's coming up at the end of our agenda, but I was at Oktoberfest. I managed to get there at the end, the tail end of it. I know Kevin was there as well. It was a fantastic event. Since then, I know, I saw Chase, Selectman Gerbig at the event. He congratulated us on the success. Obviously, weather helped us a lot. It was a perfect day for it. But, for our first Oktoberfest, it was a raving success. They mentioned it again last night at the Selectman meeting. But I've seen on social media, I've gotten messages myself that it was a really great event. I think there's a lot of people willing to give us constructive criticism. I've seen some of that, which, I haven't seen anything, that is, unsatisfied. They weren't unsatisfied with the event, but some of the things that we could improve on. So, and I think next year maybe we can bring some more people into the fold that have experience with it. And
Yeah, I think people
even better.
will be more willing to take the risk to come now that they know the crowds of people will come.
Yeah. So, but we can talk more about that later on if you'd like. So we have acceptance of meeting minutes for September 10th. You can take a look at those. Whenever you guys are ready, I'll entertain a motion on that.
motion to accept the minutes for the Tuesday, September 10th, 2019 meeting.
I second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes for
How's it
September?
Aye.
I thought you were in Washington.
Hello, Mike.
That was last week.
What?
Yeah, that's
How
all right,
did I
I'll
get
sit over
that
here.
wrong?
Mike, take this.
Sorry, I had the night off.
We wouldn't have started without you.
It's all right. It's at my daughter's game.
So why don't we'll give Mike a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes. Here you go.
I was gonna give him my stuff. You got it?
Yeah.
You got what you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a motion's been made and seconded. Whenever you're ready, Mike, you can just let us know.
I looked him over, something good.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving these meeting minutes from September 10th, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, so moving on, we have the Long Lake Beach Summer of 2019 review. Before we get going on this, so Tim's going to present some of the revenue numbers, some of the expenses, well, all the revenue, all the expenses. I just want to reiterate that for the last 2 years, the commission has been in agreement that the beach should be self-sufficient. So it costs us around $100,000, $80,000 to $100,000 to run it,
About that,
to run the beach each year. So what we want is for that town asset to be self-funded. We don't want to have to take from other programs, charge more for other programs to fund the beach. So that's been our mindset for the last 2 years. I haven't heard of that changing. If it has, that's fine. Commissioners may have changed their opinion at this point, and that's fine. We'll have that discussion. But that has been our philosophy for the last couple of years. We've made some improvements. Last, I believe it was in April, we had a meeting that was well attended by a lot of the community. Some of the improvements, changes that we wanted to make were pushed back on, which that was fine. It was good for the community to participate. We then reconvened at our next normally scheduled meeting. We made I would say a good amount of concessions. We tried to take a lot of the feedback that we got from the community meeting and change some of the things that we were going to do. We didn't change everything, but we did value that community input, and we made some changes to that. We have begun making some of the. So let me back up. At Springtown meeting last year, or this year actually, Springtown meeting, we made a request. That was spring, right? CPC funds.
Yes.
We made a request for CPC funds to fund some of the improvements that we did. Handicap accessible mat, fishing docks,
Well, sailing docks.
sailing docks, a new snack shack. We intend on installing some fencing that we'll get into. So we received the funding for that. We received approval at Springtown meeting. Just based on how the summer went, a lot of that was not done this year. We haven't put up the fencing. We haven't gotten the new snack shack. We were able to put the ADA accessible mats down, but there were some unforeseen circumstances in our department that didn't allow us the time to do some of those improvements. So those are still scheduled to be done. We're obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, we're not going to do them at this point for them to deteriorate throughout the winter. So the intent is to finish what we were approved for at Springtown meeting in the spring of 2020. So having said that, if any other commissioners have anything they want to add before we give the floor to Tim. All right, Tim, if you want to go over how the beach went this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the, just so that everybody's aware, one of the changes that we made that was requested by the public was to move this particular update and vote and everything that we have from December to October, which we did to give people plenty of time to do input and get it into the brochure for our rates for 2020. So I just wanted to make that comment that we did move this to October this year, and it seems like it was a good time frame to get everything together to be able to put this presentation on. So tonight we're going to cover the 2019 operation update, 2020 Long Lake Beach passes, update to Long Lake Beach project if necessary, if anybody has any questions, and then I'll open the floor for comments and questions. And then, Mike, at your discretion, if you want to answer questions or if we want to wait to the end, just let me know. All right, so 2019 overview, I apologize. This past summer, so fiscal year 18 into 19. So our memberships for this year, our 2019 memberships, the cards that we had, we brought in $37,757 worth of revenue. Our day passes, as well as day parking, we brought in $10,990 worth of revenue. Boat rentals, we brought in $73.90. Our sailing program was $27,652.50. Swim lessons were $14,340. Junior lifeguarding was $2,350, and concessions at the Snack Shack were $8,087.75. So we had a grand total of $108,567.25. We're going to break some of these numbers out here in just a minute so everybody can get a look at exactly where we're getting these numbers and what they're matching up to. Our total payroll for Long Lake Beach for this summer was $83,933.16. We had $20,870.50 in expenses, which brought us to a total profit at the beach of $3,763.59. Now, I do say that cautiously because we do have some light and water bills that we still need to pay for this summer. And then we also have June of next year if we get any bills that falls in the same fiscal year. So, based off of that, we are going to see that number come down slightly before this number is actually official. Yes, Alicia?
So the 83 payroll is specifically July and August into September, that's it?
No, it
Oh,
starts
it
on May
is.
15th.
Gotcha.
So, and that will, if you guys will see it more on your sheets when, and then I have it here, but if you look at all the dates of the payroll that I pulled, everybody starts at the May 15th staff meeting, so.
So
it's
even though our
100%.
fiscal year does run July to June, we're just trying to get the all-around
Correct,
numbers.
this is so that you can see the snapshot of exact, so last season I did the same thing, so you saw the whole season, not the break in the fiscal
From
year.
the point
'cause
the beach is staffed until it's unstaffed.
You got it.
Correct, because it skews the numbers for us if we do it in the fiscal
Fiscal
years
year,
because of the way that people
Makes
pay
sense
for
to do it
things.
this way.
So, in the same thing, what you're seeing here, so in 2018, which was last year, you see our comparisons. So most of our stuff came up slightly. We did have a couple things drop off just very minutely, which we'll talk about in a little while. So year over year, we saw a $4,233 difference in revenue. All right, breaking it down a little further. So this year, one of our big changes that was requested of us was to add an individual membership and a couple membership. We also made some changes to the pricing of the senior passes. So our total registrations for family passes were 399. That means that there were 1,619 individuals who were able to utilize the beach under those family households. Individual memberships were 38. We had 47 couples, so 92 individuals. We had 148 seniors, which came out to 232 individual people. We sold 117 additional parking passes. That number of 432 was the family members who were covered by those passes. And we sold 6 of the third parking stickers, so family with 3 cars. They were generally families that had nannies who were bringing the kids to the beach on a daily basis. Compared to last year, as we had noted in our public records request to one of the citizens, the numbers, we had switched our recreation software, so we weren't able to get the exact breakdowns like we have in our new recreation system. But what I am able to put out there is last year's numbers were 335 resident family passes and 142 non-resident passes. So compared the two, we did go down considerably in the resident passes, and really that number is skewed a little because it's not a dramatic drop off in family passes. It's just last year you didn't have the option of the individual or couples, so a lot of those numbers just went to a different bucket. And then non-resident passes, we saw almost break even on the exact same number of families who bought passes. Seniors, 137 residents compared to 91 last year, and then 72 and 57. So we did see a considerable increase in our number of senior passes that we sold, and I can attribute most of that to the price break that we did for resident seniors.
So just to, I guess, reiterate what you said, so you would take, so we have 258 residents under the family pass against 335 last year, but you would also have to add in 31 and 20, correct?
Correct, yes.
So we're looking at 309
Correct.
versus 335, so it's not really that.
Just a very minute
Yeah.
drop off,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So, and that was what I was referring to last meeting when I said we were basically flat for this year. And then as far as, the numbers coming in, we were relatively very close at $4,258. So originally we had projected about a $10,000 improvement, but when we did the change and added into the couple and the individual membership, by the decrease in the revenue that we saw coming in there, that was the decrease that we saw of about $6,000 in our original projections.
Okay.
All right, day passes. So day passes made up $940 worth of our revenue for residents. Resident one-day parking passes were $990. Just to remind everybody, these are the passes you can buy one day and upgrade at any time to your annual membership if you so choose to do. Non-resident one-day passes, we had $4,180, and non-resident one-day parking was $4,880 for a grand total of $10,990. Comparing those numbers to last year, they were slightly increased, $953. So everything was pretty flat when it comes to the numbers that we saw here for our daily rates. Okay. All right, boat rentals. So 2019 for our boat rentals, kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards is what we rented. We had 76, 46, and 107 for a total of 229 half-hour rentals. In the kayak, canoes, paddleboards, respectively, we had 760, 460, and 1070 in profit there. 60-minute rentals, we had 85, 74, 96. Respective numbers are $1,700, $1,480, and $1920 for a grand total of $7,390 in boat rental fees. Compared to last year, that was about $230. There was a swap this year, if you will, in kayaks and canoes over paddleboards. So just a trending thing kind of last year, and now they're starting to kind of curtail a little bit.
Good.
All right. Sailing program. So this year for our sailing program, we ran sailing for all summer long. We did have an extra week of sailing this year compared to last year. So there's the numbers under sailors. We had between 8 and 22 participants per week. Residents, we had between 2 and 6, and non-residents, we had between 4 and 17 in each program. So you can see the split there. About half the number of residents as non-residents utilizing this program for a total of 115 individual uses this summer at $27,652.50. Compared to last year, we saw a $4,177.50 increase. So as I stated last year, the sailing program continues to grow. It's something that's very, very popular, and a lot of the feedback that we get is people don't have to drive all the way into Boston to do a program, and it's a really nice lake to learn how to sail on. We get good wind, and it's especially for beginner sailors, it's very manageable. So we continue to see growth in our sailing program.
Do you have what the cost of that is for a week off the top of your head?
$225 per resident and $250 per non-resident.
Thank you.
What is the maximum that we can have on any given week?
Just
So-
curious, with what we currently have for inventory.
It's supposed to be 20 based on our boats, but the way that we are able to run the program, we can get, I think we pushed it to 22 this year. Yeah, 22 was our highest number. By keeping the beginners off the water and then putting more boats out on the advanced kids and kind of switching some of the things around. Some of the days they actually put 3 kids out on certain boats depending on size and skill of the kids, just to get them some more experience with some.
So it's fair to say we're kind of maximizing what we have for inventory on that one, right?
Definitely, and that was the point that we had made 2 years ago when we went to Capital for the 2 more boats, and then the just the mentality that we have to continue to keep our boats in our capital plan and replace them on a depreciation schedule so we can continue to have this program be self-sufficient.
Just curious too, with the swim lessons, what is the,
Jumping ahead of me.
oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
All right, any more questions about the sailing program? So if anybody, as you're walking through this, if anybody's kind of realizing, as far as memberships and everything else, everything is self-sustaining. So our memberships are very close to the amount that we're trying to bring in for the lifeguard revenue. Our sailing program is covering the revenue, or the payroll for the sailing. The swim lessons, which we're about to get to, are paying for the payroll and the equipment for the thing. So every single program is maintaining itself. People who are paying for a beach membership are not paying for the sailing program and everything else that's going on. Everything is kind of funding, and then the Snack Shack is supplementing revenue that we need to go towards kind of stashing some of that money away for a rainy day fund. All right, Mike, swim lessons. So this year we did not do week A and B, and that was strictly for the training schedule of our WSIs. So we went into week B, which was 4th of July week also, which typically we don't hold swim lessons on. And this year with it falling on a Wednesday right in the middle of the week, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So we did see a significant hit of about $1,800 on that. Still, we had a very healthy year of $14,340 in our swim lesson program. We had 199 participants, 112 which were residents and 87 which were non-residents. We did see, if you can see, for the second year in a row, we did trend almost 3/4 of 75 to 25 non-residents to residents in our private lesson group. So we do see a lot more non-residents doing private lessons than residents. All right. Questions about what you have, Mike?
Yeah, I was just going through, so it seems like those are the 2 weeks where you took the hit.
Yep.
For A and B. Just curious, same question with the number of participants. I imagine it works. You know, are we able to scale if we had more participants? You know, as far as ratio when it comes to instructor to student?
So the American Red Cross allows us to go to 10-to-1 ratio in most of our learn to swim programs. So, you know, we definitely have room to grow in all of our programs. We generally see an average of about 3 to 5 in each of the classes levels that we do. And currently we really offer only level 1 through 4, because once you get into level 5 and 6, you're really talking about technique and stroke progression and stuff like that you're starting to get into club swimming. And as far as the preschool age go, we do not offer a parent-kid class. We tried to do it in my first summer here, and we really didn't get a lot of takers. And one of the big reasons with that is, you know, if you look at a place that's doing it like the Y or Goldfish, you have the warm water, you're able to see the bottom. Just with the environmental factors we have, it's just not a very healthy environment to try to take that on. All right. Sorry. So junior lifeguards, we did have a really nice junior lifeguard class this year. We had 10 participants total, 4 residents and 6 non-residents. So about the same split that we have for residents and non-residents as far as employees go as well. So we had $2,350 in revenue here. Over last year, we were up $690 so we were +3 on our numbers. So we're growing the junior guard program. This is kind of our feeder system for our lifeguards that we have. It's nice to get them in, get them trained on the operation, get them to know, not only the kids, but the other employees are there and the head guard. So what we're able to do is really have them trained up so when they do get their lifeguard license, they're able to come in and it's kind of a seamless transition. They already know how we do everything in the operation. All right, so I made reference to it a little while ago, but for the most part, well, not for the most part, we do have everything 100% sustaining itself right now. So the aquatics director pay, we paid Nat Newman $20.43 an hour under the new pay scale that we passed at town meeting for his total paycheck of $8,634 for the summer. On your sheet, you can actually see every single person's, every shift they clocked in and out for, and there's a lot of detail there. It's pretty considerable if you guys want to look through it. Head lifeguards, we utilized Caitlin Desjardins and Matthew Adama, both who were at $17.13 for a grand total of $5,400 and $54.76.87. So the head lifeguard acts in the absence of the aquatics director to help open and close. In the absence of the aquatics director, I am also somebody who is at the beach a majority of the time. So that is kind of how those two are broken out. Junior guard instructors, Chris Bentley and Jason Frizzoli. Chris Bentley was at $15.68. Jason Frizzoli was at $15 this summer. For the 2 weeks of lifeguard training, we had $864.45. Lifeguard payroll for the entire summer was $27,782.64. So as I made reference to, when we're selling the memberships, we do talk about how the memberships contribute to helping pay for our lifeguards. So as everyone can kind of put together, if we go back to the original membership passes for the summer, we were at $37,757. So when you break that out and the devoted staff that we have from the snack shack for the hours that are put together for janitorial, for picking up trash in the park, for cleaning the bathrooms and everything else that kind of goes into that membership and the things that come with it, we were almost at break even. We're really not collecting any additional revenue when it comes to the membership versus lifeguards and services that we're providing to go with the membership. Sailing coordinator payroll, Matt was also our sailing coordinator. He would fill in as head guard when he wasn't doing that. Same pay rate of $17.13 for $3,069.21. Our sailing instructor payroll was $11,608.15. So total sailing cost us right around $15,000 for the summer. Once again, that is our largest revenue maker down at the beach. So we saw a little over $11,000 profit in the sailing program this year. Swim instructors, $6,678 in the swim instructor payroll. Just got to go back and look real quick. So we brought in about $14,000 total. So we were about double on what we came out there. Training, in-service, and payroll. So this was $4,006.83. So this is all of the hours that we spend to send people through the WSI program, the lifeguard training. Each of our lifeguards is required by state law to have 4 hours of in-service training per month, which is on land, CPR, AED, oxygen training, as well as in the water emergency action plans and rescues, which generally takes place either Tuesday or Thursday evenings or Sunday mornings is kind of what we found works for our crew. So grand total in our payroll this year, we were at $83,902.10. All right, 2000, so for this summer, we were weekends only from May 25th to June 16th. We were full-time from June 18th to September 2nd. We ended up staffing the beach 10 a.m. to 5:30 Monday through Thursdays, 10 to 6:30 on Fridays and Saturdays, and 11 to 5:30 on Sundays. And we did keep the snack shack and rentals open until 8. So as you can see, we really didn't do that much difference on the boat rentals, and we actually had a little bit of loss on the concessions. So it wasn't necessarily something that was any more than an amenity for the people that were there, because the bathrooms were able to stay open later. The one thing that we, obviously, that was the one thing that we got complaints on before that we were able to kind of mitigate, was just having the restrooms and those services available. So for 2020, just so everybody kind of knows what we're looking at, and to get into this discussion, the weekends only would run from May 30th to June 21st, which is the weekend before school is supposed to end. Full-time would be June 22nd through September 5th, which is Memorial Day Monday. The one thing that I do want to take a look at is, do we want to stay open during the weekdays in the last 2 weeks of August? We don't generally see a large attendance at the beach. A lot of the other municipalities do not guard their beaches, especially that last week of August during the midweek, just with everybody back to sports and schools. From a safety standpoint, it makes sense to do it from, if we want to have it out there, but going back to kind of just looking at operational things, it is something that we could look at doing, because we are one of the only places that does stay staffed through those for definitely the last week of August, if not the one before. And we do always struggle having lifeguards for those last 2 weeks. So we'd be looking at the kind of same schedule. It worked pretty well. I did have probably about a 50-50 split on emails of people that were disappointed that we changed our mind to not stay open, and people who had represented at the meetings to, please go back, revert to the old schedule, which is where we're at currently.
Mhm.
All right, so this year, as everybody is aware, we did the new membership cards. They worked out very, very well from an operational standpoint. It was very easy to check memberships, to be able to verify that people were who they said that they were. The electronic purchasing for the parents loading their kids' cards and everything, it worked exactly how it was expected to work. And we did have a considerable number of parents opt out of the children's ID, like we had made the concession for, and that was it worked out perfectly well. All the parents who did that, were always there with their kids, or somebody who was a named guardian was there with them, so we really didn't see many issues as far as any of that was concerned. We did have probably about 25% of people added some sort of note if they had allergies or anything. We saw a lot of that in our senior group, a lot of blood thinners and things like that in case, we came across them. So that was just kind of give an update on that. And then,
With Camp T.
Yep.
And do the kids have these passes with them at Camp T to purchase snacks and things like that? Or I'm not exactly sure how it works at Camp T with, I'm sure they bring their own lunch, but then, is there even an opportunity if they wanted to purchase a snack to use their card?
so
Or is
they
that
come-
something just kind of not associated with Camp T?
So they do come to the beach right now, and originally when we had talked about this particular idea, using it for these types of, like Camp T was something that we talked about, because it's very easy for kids to be able to, check in the morning and
Yeah.
be able to see who checks in rather than have to, do that. So, but right now we're not using it for that purpose.
Okay.
So
We wanted
down
to
the road,
wait.
we could definitely talk about doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. We wanted to wait and see, because this was the first go-round of usage of it, but
Mhm.
yeah, it has other uses as well.
Okay.
All right, so as far as pass costs, this year, just to refresh everybody's mind, resident passes were $60, non-residents were $125. I did get a considerable amount of feedback that $125 is probably the upper echelon of where we're gonna get to for non-resident passes. Individuals, we had 25 residents, non-residents of 50, couples were 40 and 75, seniors were 15 and 25. For day passes, we were at $15 to park for residents, $20 for non-residents, $4 for residents per day to utilize the beach, and non-residents were $5. As I stated before, all of those numbers for under the daily pass can be refunded at any time to buy an annual pass. And my recommendation to the board, based off of seeing the data for this year, and with what we still have to finish with the beach project, would just to remain level for the 2020 season and not to do any type of increases or decreases until we kind of see where we are. Because I think we've come to a place where we've kind of stabilized on the membership. We're going to see a very small increase in our payroll next year. Hopefully we're going to see about the 80% retention rate that we've been seeing for the past couple summers. With that said, that 20% loss will take us down to, that base layer of starting back off at 15. So some of our 1568s will fall off. But for the most part, we should stay pretty even keel from a payroll perspective next year.
Was there plans to, I forget where we were with it, with the pay structure for the lifeguards, was that gonna get incrementally raised every year, or are we at the max that we need to be at?
So we were 3 years, correct me, 3 years ahead of minimum wage?
We are,
Yeah.
yeah. So there won't be an upgrade or an update to that schedule this year, but next year we will go back to town meeting to increase that again.
Okay.
Because we do need to get to the $15 minimum wage, because the bottom bracket of the step and grid that we have right now is $13.33. So
The snack shack.
yeah, so a grade 1, step 1 would be paid $13.33 an hour.
Okay.
So that has to get up to $15 an hour within, I think it's 2023.
Yeah.
They keep changing the
Sure.
years that they wanna, but, yeah.
So the pay scales for 2019 are gonna be the same in 2020?
Correct. We have no intentions of changing them until we have to, based off of getting that grade 1, step 1 to $15.
I'll be working with the treasurer to do that this year before he retires, so that we can get that set and ready to go for future.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, so like I said, 2020, just so it's officially up here underneath the numbers, my recommendation is to keep everything level and not make any changes to the past structure for the next season. Bathhouse project update. So just so everybody knows where we are, this slide might look familiar from our April meeting. So what we have achieved is not pictured on here, but over by the boat ramp, I'm sure a lot of you were able to see it, and I'm sorry I did not have a picture added in here, was the new sailboat dock and our new community fishing dock. The sailboat dock worked wonderfully for our sailing program. It made things so much easier, so much safer. The kids weren't swimming out to get their boats every day. They weren't swimming out to remoor their boats. And we get a lot of calls. Previously, we had a lot of calls for fishermen about not having a place. It was unsafe to put the boats in at the dock. They didn't have a place to moor their boats. They were ruining their boats on the concrete. And we have for the most part, a lot of very happy people. We actually just got a call today from a gentleman who was asking us when we're going to take it out so he can continue fishing. The answer to that is probably about mid-November we'll pull the last leg of the dock when the Department of Fish and Game locks the boat ramp. That last piece is going to slide right up so we can slide it back in as soon as the lake is thawed next year and everybody can get back to it. With that said, the old sailing dock was represented by the green shading up off of Lakeshore Drive. That is going to become our new fishing dock for the kids. Unfortunately, because of some of the damage it sustained, and it is extremely old, there's some aluminum welding and some stuff that needs to be done. So it wasn't really safe enough to put out there this year, but we'll get everything buttoned up over the course of this winter and early spring, and we'll get that out there so conservation can take a look at it. And hopefully we'll have a really nice fishing area accessible for everyone. The yellow lines that you see is the ADA accessible matting, and we also had the ADA accessible wheelchairs. We got some very, very nice emails from some people and also talked to some residents and non-residents who had come to the beach. We also received a very generous donation from somebody whose mother who was actually able to come to the beach and see her grandkids swim and play and everything else. So we have a very nice email that came along with that donation as well.
Okay. I just want to mention, I did receive very recently an email from an individual who was not happy with the math being done. Oh, hi. I didn't realize,
Hi.
I've never met
Are
him.
you Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so
So-
Mr. Porter and I had spoken on the phone
Okay,
as well.
so I just wanted to mention that, full disclosure.
Yep. So the red line in front of the wall was originally where we had talked about doing the play panels. That was just going to be a replacement of that wall. Mike and I actually walked the beach the other day, and I think what we've come out to is we're going to remove one of the tiers that doesn't look like it really needs to be there, and then just replace the rest of the stone that's there, take away some of that tripping and falling hazard. The white lines, that one still goes way back, but if I just kind of make motion up here above Sean's head, from here to here, and here to here is where we're planning on putting our rope fence and our delineator marks to keep people from sprinting across the parking lot. And then the yellow rectangle over by the boat ramp is where the footprint of the new concession stands and storage building is going to be. In order to mitigate costs as far as that, I've been talking with Chris from Highway, and Chris is going to do all the site work when the time becomes available to get that. He's going to use some of the millings that they're using from a couple of their projects and get all that set. So there's a lot more to come on that. It's really, we are at a point where funds became available July 1st. We had some different staffing things that we were dealing with this summer. And, you know, with the July 1st date, it didn't really make it the best time to go tearing stuff apart, especially why people are utilizing the beach and we have 230 camp kids there. So it was one of those decisions that we unfortunately had to make to get into it either after the summer was over or next year, and we just really didn't want to see any new stuff get out there just to get beat up for the winter and not, you know, be winterized or installed correctly. So we're going to make sure that we get everything right as soon as the ground thaws. All right, program offerings. So swim lessons, junior guard, community sailing, cornhole league, sunrise yoga. We still need to get the kids fishing excursions off the ground, as well as the pirate cruise that we had hoped to start this year, which we were not able to get to. We will be back with the kickoff to summer party and movie at the beach, and to my knowledge, the Appleman Triathlon will be back again next year. We're still working with trying to get a full food menu in cooperation with possibly the sub shop, and get the food trucks down there on Fridays or Saturday nights to have some other options, especially for people who are wrapping up work on Friday and just want to come hang out with their families. All right, so that is the end of the update and recommendations for next year.
So
I'll
one
turn it back to Mike.
thing I'd like you to elaborate on, because it is what it is an expense for us, is, and I know you've been improving it year over year, and I think we're at a good spot right now with our training for our staff.
Yep.
So talk about what we pay for out of our, the revenue that we generate.
Yeah, so as far as the payroll for the expense that we have for the lifeguards is the lifeguards do 4 hours of in-service, as well as anybody who's a professional rescuer. And this year, we also enforced that our Camp Tehadawon, our recreation staff, everybody else who was part of that was also getting their in-service, which is something that, is part of the law. If you're trained, then you have to, have the in-service to back it up. So as far as that goes, that's, 4 hours a month times all the staff that we have. So that was that training number that you saw. So at the end of the day, for us, it's a payroll number, but it's $4,506 worth of money. Now, in our expense line that we have, other monies that are being paid for, this year our sailing instructors went to the U.S. sailing training and got their level 1 sailing instructor training. So that was an additional expense that was right around $2,500 for us to get everybody up to Salem for the 4-day class and get them trained. Our WSI training cost us about $1,600 a year. to get all of our swim instructors trained and recertified. In order to do it, Greta is actually in the back of the room, is one of our swim instructors and lifeguards, so she can also kind of comment if she wishes to later on any of the training that we're able to do. One of the things that we do offer our staff here in Littleton is, as long as they fulfill their contract of working through Memorial Day to Labor Day, for our lifeguards, we do their certification for $35. A lot of the offerings you'll see are anywhere between $300 and $400 to get trained. So for some of these individuals, it's 2 weeks of pay before they're making up just what they put out to work for the community. So we do that at a $35 cost instead, and then we collect a check for $300. And as long as they work the term of their employment, then we just shred that other check. Otherwise, we charge them the full value of the classes if they had just taken it and gone to work somewhere else. So yeah, that's, and then our aquatics director and our head lifeguards, so they have the ability to help with the training as well as do the in-service training. It's $350 per individual. Matt and Nathaniel Newman did the training this year. So that was an additional $700 worth of payroll, plus my $150 to recertify as an American Red Cross instructor for this season.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know, I guess I'll open it up to the commission first, and then we'll open it up to the floor. You guys have any comments, questions?
How was it to get lifeguards this year? I know it's always a struggle.
So this year, I think we had a couple too many, I think was at the end of our thing. We had staffed to the point that we were we're hiring in February and April, and we were working under the assumption that we're going to be open until 8 o'clock. So we were a little heavy on lifeguards. For the past 3 seasons, we really haven't had an issue. We have a really good attrition rate. I credit that to the junior lifeguard program because we have a lot of kids who come through that program. Greta was a product of that as well. And then, it's really nice that it's a job that people can ride their bikes to the beach, they can live in town. So we have a really good relationship with a lot of the individuals who come for our program, whether it's the sailing program, junior lifeguards, swim lessons. Nicole Coaches, who was our aquatics director for years, actually started when she was 3 years old in our swimming lessons. So she is a kind of a product of the whole entire system. So knock on wood, we really haven't had an issue. We, thank you guys for, doing the right thing by, the lifeguards and going up to the $15, because I think that was one of our saving graces, that we were very competitive to some other people. There was actually an article in the Lowell Sun that we were quoted in because we were one of the only towns that had, thankfully, no issue finding staff and keeping our beach staffed this summer and not having to shut down. And a lot of that really kind of seemed to come from not only the camaraderie that our employees have, but the ability for people to make a decent wage. We have a lot of college kids who are trying to save up, for books and everything else, and especially in this day and age where mom and dad can't necessarily help and things are just skyrocketing. It's helping everybody out when they're able to just save up for those 8 weeks.
It's good to have continuity for our staff, and especially on the waterfront, not losing our lifeguards to the state.
Yep.
So that's good. Anything else, Ken?
No, I don't have any.
Mike? Nothing?
I did have a question.
I knew it.
Well, I know the public, it's slightly jumping ahead. I know we're going to go to a public forum and the vote on the policy and the rates. And before voting on that, I'd like to have a breakdown of, comparing what the numbers were, again, from, I didn't have that information in hand from last year to this year. I didn't know we were going to vote on it today.
Okay.
So we talked about that earlier before you got here, and we probably will not do that.
Okay.
So I want to,
Because I wanted to review the numbers.
yeah,
and
before you
absorb
walked
it.
in, I had mentioned that it would be good to have a full commission here so that we can have a consensus like we've had over the last few years.
Okay.
The data did come in late, that is,
Okay.
so we'll,
So we're good.
we're not.
We're good. Yep.
My preference would be not to have a vote tonight,
Yep.
and that'll give you an opportunity to digest the data a little bit further, and we can certainly, you know, have another public forum next month on this, and then we can, you know, we'll have a better understanding of the data and kind of what we're looking at. That's my preference anyways.
Yeah, and as long as we wrap it up by next month, we'll still meet our brochure. So we're right now shooting for the second week of January to print.
Okay.
And we have the budget that's coming in soon too, so, yeah.
Yep.
We have,
Okay, so,
it can't go further than 1 month, but
all right, so let's,
Are
So-
these numbers gonna get filled in for us? Like at least,
What?
I know they were on.
Which
the-
one? Oh, I can give you that
2018.
updated thing. So you're talking about those four
Yeah.
numbers right there? Yeah, I can send you that updated thing. So I've been waiting for almost a month for our old recreation software to get back to us, and she just emailed me at 2:23 today, where I was able to get those numbers from. So I can
Will we get
send
the other ones too, like the other numbers that are, you know, oh, we didn't do a couple, we didn't do a senior.
None of those exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so
Appreciate
everything
it, yeah.
you see on this slide was the last little piece that we were looking to put together.
Yep.
okay. So I would just say good job, Tim and Alicia. I think the summer went well. You know, to be within a couple of percentage points from, you know, where we need to be is, you know, it's really good. You know, I think open it up to the floor, and then afterwards, if we want to have a discussion on where we think rates need to be, we can have maybe a quick discussion on that, and we'll reconvene next month. But let's really try to clear our calendars for the date we set next month. If we have to move it, let's move it. You know, a week or two, maybe if people are stuck and they can't make the week after we typically meet, maybe we can meet the week before, but I really want to have all 5 of us here to make these decisions. So with that, I'll open it up to the floor. Dave, is that his name? Dave?
David? Our
right.
LCTV guy.
So
Those are good headphones.
can you let us know if you can't hear them in the crowd? I don't want to have everyone come up to the microphone, but if you can't hear them or the people at home can't hear them, then we'll have to do that.
I can hear them, but it's better if they come up.
Okay, all right, so why don't you come, if you have anything to say, if you want to come up, that would be preferable to the people at home and people who will watch this in the future.
Speak loudly.
Or speak really loudly.
Okay.
All right, so any comments, concerns, questions for us? Yeah? Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Cindy Napoli, Springfield Drive,
Yeah?
Board of
is that it?
Selectmen. So, 2 things. First of all, I just wanted to congratulate you on Oktoberfest. That was an amazing community event. Kudos to Tim, Alicia, everybody involved with putting that together. Littleton Sub Shop. I honestly was blown away. And I have not heard anything but positive feedback from the town. That was packed
Yeah.
with families and kids and adults and
I get more
activities.
I didn't get there till about 4 o'clock and it was packed, and I talked to Tim, he's like, this
I
is
mean,
the
I've never
smallest
been
it's
to
been.
anything like that in Littleton, and I grew up here. I honestly, hats off to you. I think you blew it out off the charts with that. So I just wanted to give you some feedback on that. Back to the presentation with the fishing dock. This is off the top of my head. Have you approached anybody for assistance with that, as far as maybe the Rotary or an Eagle Scout project?
We have not yet. Right now, the only board that we have spoken to is the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
There were 3 existing docks that were over there from eons ago, and they were wooden docks. They were about 5 feet wide, and I think they went out a little more than 6 feet that had been heaved by the lake over time. There's actually one that's still in the water over there.
okay.
So the original conversation that we had was we were going to utilize the docks that we already have to put them out there, because that is not PRCE property.
Okay.
The Conservation Commission wanted the opportunity to kind of see what it looked like, see what the kind of feel was, and then after We got the configuration right. We got to see exactly what the utilization was. Are people using it for just fishing? Are they docking boats there? What is it? Then they were going to make a decision on what is our next step.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just putting that out there. Those might be
good idea.
resources for you to utilize.
We did
as-
receive a very kind donation from Mr. and Mrs. White for $1,000 to help go towards that. So, yeah, we've had a lot of help with that. That's been great.
Great, I
Yeah.
think it's great. That's it.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
None of you guys want to go? All right, I'll come up. Hi, everyone. How's everyone?
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Eileen Rita Gardner, Maplehurst Road. First, I just have one question. When you were showing the numbers from last year, the split you had on the residents versus the non-residents didn't look like the same split that you gave Glavy at one of the meetings back in the spring. You said it was a 60-40 split non-residents,
Yep.
and on here it looks like it's inversed.
Okay.
If we could go back to that screen and look at it, that'd be.
Talking about family passes?
No, I'm talking, this is last year's data. So I'm talking about the numbers he had for residents and non-residents. Looks like it had been inversed, and I just wanted to look at the screen to make sure we're on the same page. Yeah, you see,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that it was non-residents that was the higher number, because it was 60-40.
I don't recall
Okay.
which way that was stated. It was definitely, it was a 60-40
It was a
split, as you can
60-40 split,
see.
and you had said it was non-residents, because then Glavy asked you if you knew for the reason for that, and you said, I can't really speculate on that. So that was the split last year, so we might want to just correct it on here.
So just so I'm clear.
No, it
at the-
is correct on there right now.
So the data that you gave Glavy at the meeting at the beginning of the year was incorrect?
The data, the 60-40 split, I don't know these are the numbers that we were working with the
I
whole
know.
time. So if I reversed them when I said that, I may have, but I don't recall
Okay,
being in reverse.
okay.
But this is accurate.
It's 100% accurate.
That is accurate now. Okay. That it wasn't accurate then, because I remember going through that and trying to color what the numbers were. I also, the Park and Rec has a mission of serving the 80% of the community, right, for their programs. We want our programs to be serving an 80-20 split, right?
No, that's what we give our instructors.
So when we're talking about programs that serve our community, it's not part of the Park and Rec's mission to serve at least 80% of the community in their programs?
There's no percentage.
Okay, I thought I had heard someone say that. So when the Park and Rec runs programs within the town, you don't care what the split is between residents and non-residents?
No, we generally have plenty of room to accept anybody who wants to come into it. The only thing that we run a wait list for is Camp Tehadawon and most of our senior trips, but that's the only occurrences that I know of.
I know from my perspective, I think we're trying to get as many in as we can, whether residents or non-residents.
Right, but the programs we run should be,
We don't turn residents away over non-residents, if that's what you're trying to get at.
no, that's not what I'm trying to get at all. I'm just talking about the programs we serve and who's signing up.
I think that like the goal,
So-
like it's a goal maybe,
Sure.
but it's not,
Well,
it's not a stated mission. It's a goal, like, I think if we were to see that there were more non-residents coming to programs than residents, I think that would be a red flag.
Okay.
But,
I
you
think
know,
where
I
you
don't
would
think.
I think where you run into that is if we get to a point where we're turning people away. How
Yeah.
often does that happen?
And it doesn't, and I can very clearly answer this. So our mission statement is that the Parks and Rec Department provides year-round, high-quality indoor and outdoor recreation and enrichment activities for children and adults in Littleton and the surrounding communities. Our goal is to provide cultural, social, and athletic programs in well-maintained parks and facilities.
Okay.
That is our mission statement.
All right, I'll go back and look. I swear I heard that in a meeting, but whatever, I'm not gonna, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I mean, we're not turning anyone away.
Yeah,
so-
no, and I know you're not, I'm just looking at these numbers, and when I look at some of the numbers of students who are served through the lake programs, it seems to me that it's not the residents that are being served, it's more non-residents that are being served.
How
But
so?
there's none that are being turned away.
Yeah, exactly, but why aren't residents showing up? I guess.
So what in particular?
If we go on the sailing lessons.
Yeah, the sailing one I
and the
noticed.
Swimming lessons.
I mean, the way I look at that is, we have, so if we're not turning residents away,
Right.
we have non-residents coming in and providing, I think it's almost $20,000 worth of revenue for our beach, our town. So that,
Sure.
I look at that as a positive. You know, as long as we're not turning residents away, then I don't see the problem in that.
I don't think that there necessarily is a problem with that. I guess my point with that is that an area resource in a town where we talk about the issue of space and not having enough area is being utilized by more non-residents than it is by residents. Kind of remove, I'll look at further in the data. The other question I had, and this, I will have to follow up with Diane Crory on it, because I have not been able to follow up with her since the last time, and I know she's super busy, is, I did notice they took down the sign at the beach that said Littleton residents only per order of the selectmen. And I don't know when the selectmen rescinded that order. And Diane had made it as far back as the 60s and she hadn't found it. So it would be curious, I'd like to know as a point of interest is when did the selectmen rescind that? We took it down. It should have been rescinded. Maybe it's never been rescinded. If it does, then we have to bring it to the board to get it rescinded, right?
I'd want to know when it was voted on by the selectmen, more than.
Well, we
when
have
it was
a member of the
rescinded.
selectmen here, so.
Certainly, I've been on the board for 3 years, and that's never come before us as a vote to rescind that.
That sign's been up there for 45 years.
Yeah, so I have no idea.
So Diane was doing the research, but that's a painstaking process, and I know that, and I'm not going to be jumping down anyone's throat looking for it, but it would be interesting for us to find out when that happened, and if it went waylaid and it never did happen, then it should happen, because the Board of Selectmen orders should mean something
Sure.
within the town.
I'm sorry.
Can we have Cindy?
So what are we specifically talking about again?
There was a sign that was up that said, the beach is for Littleton residents per Board of
So
Selectmen.
Littleton
Something-
residents only.
Per order of the Board of Selectmen?
They
Yep.
were brown signs with white lettering. The one was easily 27 feet up in a tree, because we needed to get a
That was last
extension
year.
ladder to get.
That
I
one
know.
did not say per order of the
Yes, it
selectmen.
did, because Nicole Coaches has it right now, because she wanted to use that as one of her parting gifts. So the other one is actually in the back of the bathhouse that was on the telephone pole that Mike asked me to take down this year. So there were two of them, and the one was right off Lakeshore Drive.
Right. And the other one that just came up, I don't know the exact date, but it was definitely there through late September, July of this year.
End of August.
Just something that we should be looking at. I would still encourage the Park and Rec not to put up the fence. I know people love it, I just,
Will you pull up a picture of the fence? That would-
yeah, I'm not
Go
gonna like
to,
it.
No, I-
Even if it looks all aquatic.
I know you're not gonna like it, but
I'm not.
I've heard from people that still think we're putting up a security fence, so I would take the opportunity, we're talking about it now, so take the
Sure.
opportunity to show it.
Sure, yeah, no, it's just roping like
Okay.
Hang on.
seashore bathroom sort of fencing, that's what I,
Hang on.
you know, like you see at the sea.
Yeah,
Okay. Can I?
yeah, you can continue,
Okay.
Tim can do that.
When it came to, it was great to see the mats down for the handicap with someone who is close to someone who has a child that may need that. It was good to see that. I know that a couple of people I had talked to had said like it needed to be put down better because it was a tripping hazard for
Mhm.
people and whatnot. I'm not gonna pretend I know anything about it, so, but I did wanna bring you that information just to say that some people thought like you needed it to be more professionally laid.
Yeah, that was one of I went down there and met Tim on Friday, and that was one of the things I looked at. I had received an email in that regard. I noticed some bumps, and it needed to be pulled tight. There was
Yeah.
one particular section that wasn't anchored, so that's going to be done next year.
I'm not gonna pretend I can do better.
Yeah, no, I think it's the benefits far outweigh the, I would classify it as a minor tripping hazard.
Sure. Again, it's just something that
Yep.
someone had brought up to me that would use it. It's not something I have any expertise on, so that's all I'll say about
Thanks.
that. The hours, I'm happy to see, just as a feedback, that they won't be extended any further next year. I also I'd still like us to make sure that we don't ask for passes. I know anecdotally this year, I did not buy a pass, as I said I would not because of the pictures in the system. I went down to the beach a couple of days and paid for day passes. I was never asked for the passes. And I know a number of people that went down the beach and were never asked for passes, and I understand that when people go down there all the time, that they shouldn't be, but it seems still kind of haphazard that some people can go down and be asked for them, and some people can't. The only person I know that was asked for them was me, not my children. And that was one day when I was walking through the beach. I would still like us not to have those pictures. That is my feedback. On another note, I did not go to Oktoberfest, but my son went down with his friends and biked down, had a great time, and the feedback was awesome. And it looked really great. I had to go around there when there was an accident. But anyway, it looked really great. Kudos. I think that's all I do have one question.
Yep.
Maybe I'll just email it to you later, because because no decisions are being made tonight.
Correct.
I'll look at it
Well-
later, because I wanted to look at one of the funding things that one of the numbers just didn't match up when I was reviewing, when I was checking out.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Could you show us pictures
Yeah,
of
that's
what's
what I
going to
was
happen with the other side of it, like on the other road?
Absolutely.
Meadowbrook,
Are you blocking it off so residents can't get through there, or is
is,
that why the fence is there?
nope, the fence is to block the parking lot on there, and that's the other side as well.
Yeah, but
It's
I thought you
simply
saw a line on the.
Right there.
No.
So that's
Towards the
coming off.
Lake Shore Drive? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, Lakeshore Drive, yep. Yeah,
So
so that's
do
the
So
access.
what's the intent of that?
So, right now, I don't know how familiar you are with Long Lake,
Can I,
but
hold on.
Well, I've
Can you
lived,
just, can you just introduce yourself? for
yeah,
the
my
record,
name's
please?
Bill Porter. I'll come up. That's
Thanks.
fine. My name's Bill Porter, and I live 2 blocks from there, and I have for over 16 years. And I've gone there 3 to 4 times a week over those 17 years, 16 years, so I know it very well.
Okay.
so this particular area, it's twofold now. Number one is, if you're familiar with the beach, there's this swale that kind of runs through here, and we have kids who ride their bikes down Lakeshore Drive and kind of fly through the park and out onto the street here. And not only is it an issue with them just zooming out into the street, but it also has egress issues with people who are walking up that pathway who they don't necessarily see, especially, if it's somebody who's little. So the purpose of that is to create a boundary where you have to get out and, open a gate
Get off
and
the
then
bike.
walk out into either the traffic, whether it's pedestrian traffic or
Okay.
walk out.
Well, all due respect, not to cut you off there, but obviously you haven't really thought this through, because I've seen kids ride bikes there, my kids ride bikes there, I've seen it millions of times. I've never seen that ever happen in my life. I don't know how they'd be riding down there if it's sand, if they're riding the
It's
bikes.
not,
But they
it's-
could on the
it's
blue
dirt.
mat, now that you put that there. That, if you look at it, it's tire tracks all over it. They use it as a place to skid their bikes out.
Down through the park is dirt. It's grass. Behind that swing set, there's a drainage
Kids
swale
don't cut flying through there and then zip through there. Has you ever seen that happen?
all the time.
Do you have any evidence to support this? Like, has there been complaints about it?
I mean, we
What is
have,
the
we have,
reasoning
we
for
have the person who's down at the beach the most out of our director, our assistant director. So I
You seen
mean,
it?
No, I've never seen
No, of course not. No. I don't see that as a threat. It seems to me, I can't imagine why you want to do it other than to try to restrict access. Oh, it's gonna have that big ugly sign?
I mean,
too?
it's a swinging gate. We're not really,
Stop,
we're not really
go.
restricting access.
Well, why do you have to have the stop go sign?
It says
thing?
stop, look, go. They were the signs that we
It's just a
were.
friendly reminder for the children. I mean,
Yes, but you ever thought about how that might be an eyesore for visitors and how ugly it is? As if we don't see the fence in the first place. I mean, I'm visually impaired, I might bump into the fence, but other people, like, I don't see how that's just another eyesore to add to the beach, and it doesn't really add anything. Stop, go, I can see what this says.
Stop,
stop,
go.
look, go.
Look, go. I don't get it, I'm sorry. And I don't know why honestly, for me, it's just more restriction to walk through there. I'm visually impaired, I have trouble seeing. And so to get through there, that's just another obstacle for me to bump into and trip over. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna get on their bike and see that long ramp beyond that, they're just gonna start cruising after that. So if you're really worried about them flying into the street, it's not really gonna do much. So it's really just creating a barricade around the lake, and I don't see any advantage to that.
Okay, well, I think the word barricade is, it's
Well, and
it's
you
not
also
really a
claim this is
barricade.
handicap accessible, yet you put a fence there, a gate there to block people from rolling through.
Well, no,
It's not locked.
It's a
swing
swing, it's gonna be a swinging gate.
Well,
It'll be, I would imagine it can be opened by someone in a wheelchair.
Well, what if you have a person in a wheelchair that's nonverbal or can't move themselves? Then you have people that are trying to wheel someone into the lake that have to then try to walk around, because it is on a slant. I did go down there and look and say, well, if this is gonna be here, it does, knowing people I know in wheelchairs, like, that does present a barrier for someone trying to walk them through. If we wanna stop kids, if we wanna stop kids from flying out into the road, the better place to put the barrier is right
Yeah.
at the corner of Beach and Lake Shore.
Yeah.
That's the better, because it's flat
Right.
there. If you needed to go down, and as a parent, if you're wheeling a child in, and you need to go down and open it, and walk in front of it, you can do that.
So it's not our property, I just want to let you know that.
Let's let Bill finish.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
That's all right.
and putting that mat there just is a nice little ramp to go right through there. It's just, it kind of contradicts itself. I don't understand any of the things, the plans here. And in relation to that mat too, that why is it so, if it's supposed to be handicap accessible, why on the other side of that fence it's not accessible? It's all sand and
That's,
dirt.
that's
paved
pavers.
walkway.
Paved walkway.
Well, it's filled mostly with sand and broken bricks and stuff. I mean, it's not the most smooth surface to ride on. Is that blue mat like year-round, permanent?
No, it's gonna come
No,
up
it'll,
tomorrow.
yeah, it'll come up.
The way I look at it, it's not perfect, but I think it gives better access to,
Yeah, and I
folks
could
who
see
may
some
be in
fencing to
wheelchairs.
restrict people from cutting through or something, but it's really the gate that really seems like, especially a huge stop sign, it's just, it seems like an eyesore.
Well, is that just sort of conceptual? This is
And maybe it's because I'm an artist and
not-
aesthetics are a thing, but I just like seeing a huge
Do
sign.
you have do you have an actual picture of something that we're at our meeting in April or whenever, you had pictures of actual rope fence, like the post?
No, this is the presentation.
So are you genuinely, to be honest with me, are you genuinely putting this up because you want to restrict hoodlum bikers to ride through, or is it so you can control access to the beach and make sure you
We
get your
can't,
passes covered?
there's no way we can restrict access with a fence like that. If we wanted to restrict access, it would be a stockade fence.
Well, you're putting it all around the parking lot too,
It
so
is
you can only
not.
walk through one gate to get to the beach, right?
So
You
that,
can
so that,
walk anywhere in the park.
It's not just bikers, it's
No,
also
to get to
kids.
the beach itself,
It's also
from
the
the parking
kids.
lot.
so the idea from the beach to the parking lot is
Look, there's a
to,
fence around everything, so you have to go
Right.
through that, only the gate, right? Okay.
There's two
That's it.
walkways.
It's in the
to make
parking lot
sure
though, so you're
that-
gonna park, if you park in the parking lot, you're gonna go that way through that gate to get to the snack shack, and then on your way back, you gotta go through the gate again. And it's just to stop
It's just-
kids from
I get the-
running
No, I get the
through the
fence
parking
around
lot.
it, the parking lot, that makes sense for safety, but I don't get the gates, I guess.
There's,
I'll just
yeah.
leave it at that.
I mean, it's
Agree to
three,
disagree, but
Okay.
it's just lots of barriers for me to walk through every time I want to walk around the beach, that's all I'm saying.
See, that
It just
goes to a
seems a little
major road.
restrictive, huh?
That goes to a major road, and you're right near a beach.
That's not a major road, that goes to
Mike's
sand, I know what
Mike's
you're
referring
talking
to
about.
the previous one. That's what Mike's referring to.
That goes to a major road.
Right, and you have about 150 yards to run or bike or do whatever you want to get up to speed to go into that major road. I know how dangerous that road is, I walk down there like 10 times a week
So-
for 16 years, I know that, I live like a block from that.
And I do as well. And the point that Tim was trying to make is that we don't own that other parcel of land. We're doing the best that we possibly can for what we have to work with.
So I would love to know what the jurisdiction or the reasoning is for doing that. I just don't buy the fact that kids are flying through their bikes and that this is gonna stop them.
I just don't think it's kids. I think it could be any of the kids.
I know people are riding bikes a lot, because if you look at your blue mat, it's full of just skid marks all over it from bike tires. So they're definitely down there, which is an eyesore in itself, but.
Yeah, they shouldn't be riding their bikes on there.
No.
I mean, we don't have it staffed 24/7, so.
Yeah.
And, if I could make a suggestion, honestly, because that blue mat, some of the blue mat, I get some of it is really useful, and certainly getting down to the water and access makes a lot of sense. This particular one across the beach makes no sense.
So I'll explain it to you,
Yeah.
just so that it was. One of the particular issues that was brought up to us was by Austin, the gentleman who's in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And this goes back 3 years ago when we first received this, and the question was, why should he have to go all the way up Beach,
Yeah.
down Goldsmith, and come to Town Road just to get to the beach when everybody else can walk across it?
Okay, get it.
And we get a lot of seniors who, the same exact thing is, it's very difficult to traverse the sand, especially if they're utilizing one of the parking spaces on Lakeshore when the beach parking lot is full.
Yeah.
Who are now able to get
Okay.
to where they want to go much easier.
I get the problem, but why did you choose this really awful solution? Like, there's so many other ways you could address this without taking away a section of the beach. Now, by putting this blue strip across the beach, that takes away a whole section of area where kids can play and do things. Also, I would think people want to have access to the playground. So in my mind, there's a sidewalk that goes down Town Road to the beach. Right where it ends, you could go right across behind the playground and then cut down right through this spot where you're saying kids go biking anyway. And if you're going to be putting the fence anyway, then that's all the more reason to do it. It could be year-round, so people could access it more than 4 months a year. And you give access back to the sand again that people want to stand on and play on because it's a beach. And for me, I'm visually impaired, and I trip over that thing because it's flapping up and falling apart because it's just laying on the sand. And because you're not down there to care for it anymore, people are kicking sand on it, it's got stains on it, it's really ugly and bright and blue. And for me, the first time I saw it, I almost threw up because it just takes away from the aesthetics of the beach. Now, obviously, as a disabled citizen, I care about making this more ADA accessible, and I would love to see, I love that your heart is in the right place and trying to do something, and I think some of the blue mats are really probably very useful if people find it, but I would love to see a better solution, at least as a long-term plan. Certainly this is something that you want to have here for now, but I would love to see some discussion about how we could do something better that I think would be, because I think I could see picture residents wanting, in their wheelchairs and stuff, wanted to have access to the playground that's easier. And that way, if you have it behind it, you wouldn't have sand. That's just one idea.
It's not a bad,
But that way, you wouldn't have to clean the sand off, because it goes right through the sand.
I can see that.
And so there's sand on it all the time. No one can sit there. I used to go there with my kids and play catch and frisbee all the time, because it's not too close to the water, right? I can't do that anymore. It just encourages people to fly through there on their bikes and other things, and that's all that they're mostly doing. I'm sure people use it with a wheelchair. I've never seen that, but I don't doubt that they do. But I have seen kids flying through there on bikes and stuff, and I think if you went behind it, it just makes more sense to me. Just a thought. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for all your work, guys.
Yeah,
All right?
thanks for coming.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk to you.
Yeah. Cindy?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Did you consult with the Disabilities Commission
Yes, we did.
on this?
Yep.
And so
I think Tim worked with them.
Yeah.
you worked with them?
Yeah, I brought this issue up with Diane, and she's going to be taking a look at it, so hopefully she'll report back to you on what she
Okay.
sees.
Great.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Anyone else? Yep.
Hi, Kristen Donahue on Long Lake Road. Is this blue mat meant to be a permanent solution, or is this just a temporary, just for the season to get something going?
No, it's a very permanent solution. It's,
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of.
It's already falling apart. I'm
It's
sorry.
not
Sorry.
falling apart. Mike and I were out there the other day, and I can tell you that it's definitely not.
So what happens when the sun and the wind and the ice get on it? I mean, it's just,
So
it's
the
just
wind
not
and
gonna
the-
last.
The ice is,
No ice.
we're pulling it up, so the ice isn't gonna get on it.
That's good, but then it won't be as accessible, right? But that's great. I'm glad you're pulling it up. You probably should have pulled it up sooner, but I get it.
Thanks. Do you have anything else?
I guess so.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your input. So I guess from this standpoint, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to talk about the rates. I mean, I think we came pretty close to to breaking even. I think we were within 2 or 3%. So, I mean, I think it would make sense to keep the rates where they are. But, I don't know if we need to dig into them any deeper than that, wait to see all the data.
Right.
And then we can go from there.
Quick question. I know that for the first 2 weeks that you were closed this summer, is that something, you anticipate that happening in 2020 also?
No. Well, I take that back. So the schools did do away with the blizzard bags. So we're definitely in a much, more,
At risk.
we're at a higher risk
Yeah.
to lose that first week of the summer again,
Okay.
like we did 2 years ago. So that could be a very potentially impactful thing. This year, we were able to train most of our WSIs. So it's really just the recertification process in order to get that. But then again, we still need kids to be able to come to the program.
Sure.
So.
So, but we're not looking at not getting at least one of those weeks of revenue?
Yeah, we'll get one of those revenue, and I believe John has looked at the calendar much more than I think we're getting a bonus week anyway, just how Labor Day falls this year, no?
I think we're
They took it back the week for Canty.
Well, you lose it, but we get it
Yeah, Labor
back.
Day's on the 7th of September this year.
Right,
Yeah.
so we'll get another full
Technically
week
would
back.
be the 9th, I guess, but a couple of years ago, they had this, like, Labor Day was really late, but they started school the Wednesday before, it was the only time they did it. So who knows? I don't know. I asked that question today to see.
Yeah, if I would, I mean, if it's not till the 9th, I can't imagine they're gonna start that late.
Yeah, last time it happened this way, they started it before, it was the only other time they
That puts
started
it to the
school
end of
before
June.
Labor Day.
With a couple snow days.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious for those
So,
2
yes,
weeks.
that's the plan, is to get that back up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, the blizzard bags going away. School ends on a Thursday this year, so it only takes 2 snow days to get into that next week. That first weekend of what we would normally call summer for us. So we're definitely gonna be into it with camp and beach access and all that stuff.
All right. All right, moving on. Update for Park and Rec article for Fall Town Meeting.
All right.
You, Alicia?
Yeah. So just a reminder for everyone that Fall Town Meeting takes place on Monday, October 28th at 7 PM at the Middle School Gym. What I said, Russell Street. Anyway, so the information is in your packet. None of the data has actually changed as far as the numbers go. But they did add in or amend the motion and the description. So if you wanted to review that, just to see if you are absolutely okay with that, and it would be we didn't vote on it last time, correct? So it would be appropriate to vote on it tonight.
Entertain a motion when someone's ready.
So we're just voting to accept the article as written?
Yeah, you could simply just say that you support Article 5.
As written.
Yeah, as written.
I guess we probably should because it already says we do.
Yeah.
That's the final draft,
I was
so
just
it's
reading
always
that at the bottom,
changeable,
yeah.
you don't have to.
Well, I make a motion to approve Article 5 as amended.
Second?
All right, all those in favor of approving Article 5 for Fall Town Meeting 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. And then next, unless there's any objection, I'd like to table the discussion on the swap of parcel A for parcel B at Cooper property. Alicia went out, took a walk with AgComm, is that right?
So it was Tim, myself, Mike was there,
Okay.
and Fred was
Fred
also there
and
as well.
Chuck
And
DeCoste was there as well.
Yep.
So we can, nothing has progressed from that meeting, so rather than take it up now and not have all the information, I would suggest we table it.
Yep.
Is it possible to get it onto the,
November?
yes?
Oh, yeah, it'll be tabled for November.
Okay, cool.
Because we can't, well, this one, we actually do have quite a bit of time. Because realistically, it would have to go to town meeting vote to do a swap. And there's no way that it will get on this town meeting, so
Yeah.
either spring would be the soonest. we
I
could
still
do it.
want to get to the point where we start exploring, the design, looking at CPC funds for
Yeah.
it, just because I could see strain happening with the town, as it comes.
Mhm.
Right.
For finances. And I see a squeeze gonna, more than likely it's gonna happen with Cooper, or
Right.
that's gonna,
Well, that's the thing, in November, we'll have more of a know of what's going to be coming our way,
okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
Not particularly.
Well, after town meeting. Yeah? No?
No, because we still won't know if we're funding any potentially approved projects inside or outside the levy. Well,
That's a true statement.
The library in particular,
Yeah. that's
which
true.
is, as a member of this board, troublesome. So we won't have any clarity as far as whether or not capital money is going to be squeezed
Yeah.
until spring 2020.
Yep.
So while we are on the topic, one of the things was, with the way the enterprise fund, and Alicia can speak to this more, is, that reoccurring $50,000 might come into question in the
Oh,
future
yeah.
as well.
I went to the selectmen
Yeah.
meeting last week and made my opinion known as the chairman of this committee that I'm very concerned that a project of that size would be placed inside the levy. For that reason in particular, a lot of the things that we do, I feel like are going to be considered nice to haves and on the chopping block when the squeeze comes. So, I voiced that opinion. My hope is that it's funded outside the levy, in that departments like ours, like senior services, like, all the other departments in town aren't squeezed. The schools, I'll just leave it at that for now. It's not, it's not gonna come up for quite a while. All right, moving.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there, back in, I want to say it was 2011, the Park and Rec was not an enterprise operation, like it was partially funded through the town also, right?
Yeah, at some point, I don't know the year.
Yeah, it was.
Predates any of us.
Yeah.
For yourself.
It was right before,
Well-
it was before I came in, so it was 2014 is
So-
when the switch
Okay.
happened.
What would it take for us as a community to get back there? Because I think at the end of the day, that's such a lazy term, but at the end of the day, people in the town enjoy the programming that's offered through the Park and Rec, right? And the Park and Rec is doing good things, and it is employing kids within the town. Like all those, half the kids on that list are, I've seen them in the schools, I see them at the sub shop, like, that's a community asset no matter how you look at it. If kids are running those programs and we're employing members of the community, and members of the community are using programs, and we as a town are saying, okay, well, these are important to us, and we pay, and no one wants to pay $1,000, like, you pay a nominal fee, and everyone gets to use it, and you don't have bickering about stuff. What would it take to get back there?
You
Like,
have-
how do we help you get back there? Because Littleton was there before. And maybe it was before the 2008 crash, but that crash is over. And the town would be well served by having community programs that, like there are fees, but that are supplemented by the town.
So that's something that when we go to budget hearings, we've talked about that for the past 5 years that I've worked here. We do it every single budget hearing. But everything has been level funded, which means it's just
I get
you get
that.
exactly what you got the year before. So it's not just our department, it's every department. And with us having, we have essentially $1 million budget. And it's razor thin, because last year we brought in 14 grand, that's it. When you're talking about $1 million and only bringing in $14,000, that's like a,
Glad you can get it to that.
I know. So
The bu-
that's something that, we, right now, having us outside of the general operations budget is a help to the town. Because that's something where we are more responsible, have to be more fiscally innovative to be able to figure out how to do the things that we need to do. So, realistically, I don't think that that's something that the finance director nor the treasurer would ever think of reverting to go back to that. it doesn't help our budget as a whole for the town.
If you want an exact kind of answer, and I'd be more than happy to give you a copy of it, but the National Park and Recreation has a study that they do on this, and within the next couple of weeks, they're gonna release the 2020 study. The most recent one was done in 2016. So for a park and rec of our size, it's about a $1.3 million operating budget in order to obtain the services that we're currently offering. So, like I said, I'll be happy to give you that report so you can kind of look at, what a community of our size it takes to do. It also kind of puts out there as far as, how many parks, how many, all of this kind of stuff that you can put together. It's pretty fascinating information, but the answer to your question is about $1.3 million if you're looking for a national average.
And aren't a lot of the towns around here sort of enterprise funds for?
They're not.
For recreation, no? They're
No,
not.
we are definitely kind of an unusual setup. But that's more for the fact that because we don't have a community center or an aquatic center or a golf course, typically you would have one of those that would kind of serve as that extra financial float to keep the department going. So we do that through our programs and trying to be really cost effective and trying to do new things like Oktoberfest. So, yeah.
To speak to that point, I think you have to be efficient, and sometimes you might not run programs because they aren't cost effective, where, you might just decide to keep the program going if you were an enterprise, necessarily, so.
Yeah, the other thing is that, aside from Alicia's salary, Tim's salary, and $50,000 that we request every year to maintain what we have, and some of the other capital things that we ask for, when the budget is crunched, it doesn't affect us as much as it would if we were funded by the town. So when, if they got to find $500,000 to make ends meet like they had to last year, there's only so much of our stuff that they can touch. And so we can continue to run a cohesive department and, be able to forecast, the programming and everything that we do without, having to worry about, pinching pennies because, they're going to take our funding away for, program X or whatever,
Right, but then we hear, when we're here, we hear this committee perseverating over the fact that we might do a library within the levy and how that will impact you. So, yeah, even as an enterprise operation, you're worried about stuff like that.
That's
I
true.
guess my
That's
point
fair
is,
point.
how do we build the public will to make the town administrator think about reverting to it?
Well, it's not the town, it would have to be,
Or
you'd have to go through the board of
I'm
selectmen.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm misnaming people, and that's unfair, it's late at night, it's like
Okay.
4, so. Just some things to think about, like, I know you had to return one of the big boats that they bought this year, right?
Had to? We-
Oh, you did?
We chose to,
Chose
yeah.
to.
We chose to.
Where's the other one?
At Town Hall. It's on we're in the process of selling it,
Both of them? Or the second?
both of them. Well, one of them we're definitely selling, the other one we might trade for a pontoon boat, just with the one that we were looking for doing for the kids fishing cruise, just with the challenges of the shallowness of the boat ramp now that we drain the lake as far as we have. Clean lakes.
Not we, yeah.
Not we.
We didn't drain the lake.
Clean lakes.
Beavers.
Yes. So we're in the process of that, based off of some of the feedback that we received at the beginning of this year to look at other solutions.
Okay. So, moving on to director's report.
All right. All right, so we are starting a new space needs study.
Starting?
So we did get to meet with the Vertex and the LLB architects and town administrator to kind of go over the PRCE needs. So we're, like I said, we're starting that process again. it was a pretty good conversation that we had with them. The 2019 Holiday Helpers applications, they've been updated and sent out to last year's participants, out to the public school principals and nurses and counselors, and the Elder and Human Services staff. So the deadline to enroll for that program is going to be Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. We have applications at the office and online, so anybody can contact me directly, and I will help them through that process if need be. So we did actually do the credit card split. We made that vote last. Tim's all excited. Yes. So we went through the process. So that has happened. On my desk, I have my first credit card turnover to see what that wonderful new system will be like. We'll find out tomorrow. Let's see here. So we're working with, myself and the staff. We're trying to figure out the budget for fiscal year 2021. So that has to be into the finance director by the end of October. So we've already started some of those processes of trying to calculate everything out and reassess what the fees for programs need to be. I've also had a few conversations with the Director of Public Works to talk about some things that will affect both of our departments. So hopefully we'll get that all figured out. I'll have a complete draft, and we can review it at the November Park Commission meeting. So hopefully I'll get that to you early enough in time. I mean, I will have to, because it has to be in by October 31st, so that you have plenty of time to review it before the meeting. And Saturday budget hearing will be held on December 14th. So put that in your calendar. December 14th, 2019. If any of the other commissioners would like to attend, that would be fantastic.
That may be changing a little bit.
Oh, it may. All right. Yeah? Okay,
Well,
so stay tuned, kids. It would be very nice if they broke it up and gave themselves some extra space and time. So, all right, well, I'll let you know. I already mentioned Fall Town Meeting, and then we are going to be working on bids for the statistically valid survey, so that we can move on that as soon as town meeting is over, if Article 5 is approved. That, I believe, is everything that I have for the time being. And just a reminder that the next Park Commission meeting is on Tuesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. right here in this room.
Okay.
All right?
Yep. So moving on to discussion on the 5-year capital plan for Park and Rec, PRCE.
So you have the document, last month Mike had requested kind of like a general overview, which is a really awesome document to be able to kind of think about things and look at stuff. So you have the typical form that is a table that we would turn in. Nina, our town administrator, has asked that we only look 5 years out for this year, just so we can, because we're revamping the whole budget structure. So at this point in time, that kind of helps us redo that. So I printed out the table just so that's something you can look at. You can scratch stuff off, write things on it, whatever you would like to use that for. And then on the document, we did have the capital requests for the last 5 years. What we have actually received over the last 5 years, and future requests possibly coming down the pipeline that we need to think about. So that's kind of up for you all to discuss. I have to do the documentation, the paperwork to put in if we are going to go forward with a capital request, and that needs to be done essentially the same time during this budget process in October as well. So they will ask for a capital request budget at the same time that we do our enterprise budget.
When do you want to go over and start taking, revisiting this? Because I know we've done it
That's what
before.
we're doing right now.
Right now, okay.
Let's revisit.
Okay.
Yep. So that's why I sent the information out, so that you can review it, look at it. If you had some ideas, things that you want to add in, whether they're future requests that aren't on the list that we should be thinking of. There's loads of things.
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah.
Well, with the Long Lake, with the Long Lake bathhouse
Right.
and rebuild.
Yep.
I mean, isn't that sort of contingent upon, what we can do as far as sewering, at this point?
So, like I said, this is what it was last year.
Okay.
Right? And
Yep,
that was
yep.
before we knew everything. So
Okay.
you can use this document, you can scratch stuff out, write things in, just use this as a document.
I mean, I'd love to revisit the bathhouse, but I don't see how we're gonna do anything unless that question gets answered.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So unless, we're out of options when it comes to septic. We can't do a build on a tight tank, so that's not a reality. So it
So
really
that-
would have to come down to.
So the elementary school, that's definitely been explored. Gone.
Yes.
Okay,
Gone. Nothing more we can do there.
Yeah,
No.
so I think we can take that off the list.
okay.
And the Fay Park lot and grading, do we have a design in place for that?
So I have been speaking with Stephen Witten over at the Highway Department. And we do have a couple of different ideas and options that we could do. So nothing's set in stone right now, so I really don't have any plans. But the 60,000 was something that we had requested through capital, were denied, asked for CPC funds, were granted, and then we decided with,
Well, the one that was granted was not at Fay Park. though.
they both were. Well, actually, that's not true.
No, it was just
But
King Street.
So I rescinded that,
You rescinded the King Street one,
Yes.
yes.
yeah.
So the reality is, we knew that with all of the finances that are coming up and all of the requests that are coming of the town, that we wanted to be kind of, again, more fiscally responsible and really make sure that what we use those funds for CPC are what we really genuinely want to use those funds for. So that's, when you look at capital should be a one-time expenditure. It shouldn't be something that really is recurring. If you do see it recurring, it should be that you're building up a pool of money to be able to, like, let's say that you wanted to do, I don't know, like an aquatic center. If you wanted to do something like that, you would put away so much money every year so that in 10 years' time, you could build that said thing. I think we had talked about that possibly before with Alumni Field and the carpeting. So, that's kind of how you would use capital funds. And the CPC is just, this wonderful bonus that we get that's for community preservation. So, those funds we know aren't gonna be replenished as much
Yeah.
as we had hoped they would be.
Mhm.
So we are trying to be very cautious about what we use or what we request out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many spots?
You can do whatever you want. You
No,
can
no, no.
ask for,
No, I'm
this is
saying
your
with
like
the
wish
far-
list.
With the Fay parking lot, how many spots?
Oh, I see, sorry.
I mean, there's not a lot of room there.
There's not.
Where's it going?
Yeah.
So that's why I said, I don't want to get into it. It's
Okay.
just, this is something that was on there before. We did have a design. I'm not stoked about what the design was. I never was. So with talking to Stephen, we have a couple other ideas, but like I said, everything is just in
If you have a previous
communication.
design, can you share that with us?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it was part of the presentation that I did for CPC.
Who's Stephen?
Stephen Witten, he is the highway
Superintendent.
superintendent.
New Jim
yeah.
Clyde.
Okay.
New Jim Clyde, yeah.
He used to work, he worked in a different capacity in the highway as well
Right.
before, so.
I mean, is it worth exploring King Street again? I mean, if we want to hold more events like Oktoberfest.
So,
I don't know.
so what, is this exercise due at any particular time?
So we do need to make a decision on what we want to put forward before, like, make a vote on it on the November meeting. Because realistically, if we're going into our budget season, we really do have to have a good discussion on what it is that we want to focus on. And again, we're in that place of, financially, we don't know where the town's gonna be with capital. So it is a bit difficult.
The
So I think,
reason-
I think what, all right, go ahead,
I
actually.
was just gonna say, the reason for that question is, as long as Article 5 passes and we do this statistically valid survey, and I can email you a copy of the town reference
won't
that I
have
have
it in
that's very
time.
similar to.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make is, once we get this survey back, this survey is going to give us our exact idea of what is looking for, what the town people are looking for in a very statistical, very poignant way. And the point I'm trying to make is, before we invest time and effort and everything else into saying, okay, this is our next project or this is our next project, we really should wait for that data to come back to us, because the whole point in doing this is our roadmap for essentially the next 2 to 3 years, from a standpoint of how other departments similar to ours, how other recreation departments across the country are utilizing this, because this is going to give us all that data. And the point is one of the speakers at the conference where we had discussed these surveys was it was Virginia Beach, and they were at the point where in their town meetings before their commission, they had a group of people who they were getting ready to build 200 pickleball courts. And based on what the survey said and what the came back, the reality is they completely changed what they were going to do, because the survey, it was less than 2% of the people actually wanted pickleball courts. It just happened to be the group that was showing up at the meetings. So that was the reason I brought that towards the board, and if we can make that happen, I think that that's going to give us a very clear picture of where we need to go and how we're best going to serve the community and in what they feel their needs are. The other thing is, I know that we have the Cooper parcel coming up, and we're going to be looking at building a sports field, but also going into our financial uncertainty, and talking with human services in general. I think that we need to do a better job at looking at how we can possibly revisit the picture of doing a community, a MAG center, to be mutually beneficial to everybody, to spend money one time that can be used by much broader of the population, and start closing that loop, so we can start to kind of look at that. Because one of the things, as Alicia stated, when we were answering Eileen's question, is we are one of the only town resources that has the ability to generate money, from a standpoint of putting those facilities together. So, to help ourselves and help the town, is it something that we look at doing prior to something else based on that idea?
And the things that you have on this list are ones that have come out of the open space and recreation plan, the town master plan. So, the things that are in here specifically on this list, those are, have already been generated through that process. But we do want to have a clear understanding moving forward, and we should be doing that every 2 to 3 years about, where we're at, where the community is changing. We really do need to stay on top of what those needs really are.
It's just some of this, you're going to have to get a buy-in, or things will have to change.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about the bathhouse, that's going to change.
But you're focusing on that, and
Oh, I know.
I'm just saying
Well,
that
I'd like to
it's
get
just
this,
on
I'd like to
here.
get this right,
Okay, yeah.
The other question is Morgan property. As much as I think that could serve the town so much better than what it's currently doing, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Speaking about a community center, I don't see even having that on there unless, that is something that can be viable.
I hear you.
It's tough, it's tough to really, I know we've talked about this in years past, but, it's tough to look at this tonight and go through the list and prioritize things, or even put down what, I'd like to see on the list without, putting a lot of thought into it. It's nothing that I'd want to do spur of the moment.
Yeah.
I think there's stuff we can remove though, right? The bathhouse is not an option,
Yep.
Right.
right?
Yep.
So,
And I would say Morgan property as well. I'd love to,
Well, the other thing is, I have no idea what prices, what would it cost to redesign the Shaker Lane ball fields? I
Right?
assume it would be in the millions, but I
But
don't know.
that's in the,
And
that's
is
where.
where do you see
is that a
Shaker Lane
need?
ball fields?
I understand it would be ideal for the people who use it, but,
Right. It's one of those
I'm
things
just
that
looking at
was
this list and thinking,
in
there's
the-
no way we're getting money for any of this stuff.
It was one of those things that was in the open space and recreation
No, I'm
plan
not-
and
I'm
the
just-
town master plan.
Yeah, and I'm
That's why
not
they're there.
begrudging you for
I
putting
like
it
the
on here. I
sand
just-
volleyball courts, when we have those.
The one thing, without
Kitty litter box.
getting into it, I don't know if I should even say this.
Then don't.
All right, I won't.
You set yourself, you set yourself up.
Sean, your conscience.
Say it.
A backup plan for the Cooper property could be a dog park.
I don't believe you
So
said
I'm
that.
not throwing it out there to discuss it, I'm just throwing it out there to think about it.
I think regardless of, so
We discussed
I think
it
regardless
now.
of what you do, I do think that is a very viable thing to put on the capital plan. Just, you don't have to pick where you have to put it. If you want to make $60,000 capital for a dog park, then let's put $60,000 capital for a dog park.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in the running for a grant for 3 years now.
We got
and
it
we just
once.
have nowhere to do it. And so, yeah, absolutely. A splash pad would be a great thing, be a great asset to the community to put somewhere. You know, and I think one of the things that we do poorly is we pick an area and we pigeon-toe ourselves into having to put it somewhere. You know, let's be a little more general with our brushstrokes and say, you know, we want to do these things. We want to do a dog park. We want to do a splash park. We want to do X. And
So
how
the
did-
dog park, we talked about Russell Street, the extension around Delaney. That's still viable, right?
Sure.
There's that area, there's the area behind the track, which I don't know how viable that is, but that's,
I think the parking there would be an issue, but where Russell Street is, you can easily put parking in there. Well, it's just, I'm saying it's school property,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you would get
Well,
access
Right,
to
and
it.
that's-
Right,
yeah,
access.
that's true,
Right.
yeah.
Whereas Delaney, to me, is a great spot. I mean, I can't think of a lot of uses you're gonna have there. The highway
Oh, I know.
it adds a factor that you just, whereas you have a dog, you want them to play, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that, you know, Alicia and I have been doing that I encourage you guys, if you do have some free time, is, you know, doing things like, you know, Alicia and I in our weekly 101, we went down to Friendship Park, which is the playground that Chelmsford just redid, and it's beautiful. And if you haven't been down there, go check it out, because they have different play structures for all ages. They have all sorts of stuff. They did an absolutely stunning job on it. Bill Ricca, go up and check out the new dog park they did. I don't necessarily love that it's all wood chips, but they did a great job, and that was all funded by grants. I forget what the total number is, but they got a huge chunk of change from the state. to
What
put
kind of
that in.
grant did we get for the dog park? Does
So
it
there
expire?
is there's a grant by one of the pet companies that I applied to 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Do we still have it? Has it expired?
It expires. You
Yeah.
apply. You just have to reapply every year. But we had gotten $25,000 to do it. So it's just one of those things that, you know, we apply for these things all the time, and we can. A lot of the times they'll either match or do whatever. So that's what I'm saying. We have to think a little more general. We don't necessarily have to say, okay, it has to be a Cooper, it has to be a Morgan, or anything else. You know, we need to understand what the design numbers are going to be. We need to understand what our angle is going to be, and, you know, find a place that it fits in. And to my point about taking this survey, you know, we need to find what the community wants, because there is a section of the community where a dog park's going to be a better fit, where a splash pad's going to be a better fit, where if and when a community center ever comes to fruition, that'll be a better fit, you know, in a certain space over other things. And it's just, you know, when we look at these things as like, what's our mission? How do we get there? We don't have to clutter it up with, oh, well, it has to be here. We don't have to decide where things are going to be right now. We just have to know how much we need to do it.
What's the timeline on the survey? It's not even, it's
So,
in
We
discussion.
don't even have money for it yet.
So
We don't even have money for it.
So
it has to
once,
get approved at town meeting, and then we can go through, that's why we're trying to get all the information together to get the bid out as soon as possible, if it gets approved, because it might not, but it's worth doing the extra work ahead of time, that if it does get approved, then, you know, we can go forward quickly.
the
Fall-
quickest that you're going
fall
to see it is
spring.
April.
April, yeah.
The expected time frame that you'll see it is early June. The latest that you'll see it is the end of the summer.
But we're asking in the fall town meeting for
Yes, that's
funds,
part
and
of.
that's part of Article 5.
Mhm.
Okay.
So what I think we should do is, I mean, we're not gonna have a survey, but we can certainly talk to people in the community
Yeah.
and talk about some of these things, and talk about, you know, do you want to see a dog park? Would you like to see a splash park? Sand volleyball courts? You know, I don't think it's gonna do us much good to put things down on a list right now. I think we take this to, until November and come back and prioritize some of these things.
Okay. So do you want us to do some like Facebook polls or things like that? 'Cause we could do like, would you like to see a dog park, and throw it out there and see, you know, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that can hurt. Or even, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that.
The challenge you have sometimes, though,
What's that?
the challenge you have sometimes, I think, is the audience. Kind of,
I know, yeah.
Yeah, no,
always
it's, I mean,
hard to
you have to
it's
be
get
not,
careful.
yeah,
the big
it's
wide.
nothing that I would necessarily,
hang the hat on.
yeah, it's not, it wouldn't be anything binding, but.
Well, that's the whole
it-
point of us
it's-
doing
It's,
this.
it's added data, so,
Statistically
but I would,
relative,
you know,
yeah.
dog park is a big one that I want to talk to
I'm
people
all for a
about.
dog. I have a, a lab that I've spent a lot of time out in conservation land. But for me, I still see a need for, for a field, especially if we're going to lose Cooper, the potential is there to lose Cooper, sorry.
No, you had it right. Cooper. Why would we lose
We're talking
Cooper?
about the soccer field?
Yeah.
He's talking about
Sewer.
the sewer plan.
Yeah,
Would we lose corporate if the sewer plant goes
So,
in?
that's,
I know nothing of. I have had no conversations about that, but the reality is that Kerper, the actual soccer field, is owned by Light and Water. So we have no say over that.
So
And
if
that's the
they-
problem with
if-
most of our fields.
This is like, and I voiced this concern at the meeting, the Board of Selectmen meeting the other day, or last week. They're asking us for more money at town meeting. We haven't had an update since Springtown meeting on sewer. We have no idea what's really going on. And I know they're trying to work it out with the Light and Water Department for them to take it over. But if they expect us to approve, that Selectman Gerbig said, the article could be anywhere from $2 to $25 million ask. And they don't know at this point, or maybe they do and they just don't want to tell anyone. But if they're going to take away a major sports field and not have discussion about it, that's going to be a major issue. I mean, that's just, I'm not going to get mad at someone for something that hasn't been done yet, but that can't happen.
well, my concern is we're not in control of our destiny because we do not own that. That's not a.
Well, I understand that, but it's a town asset, and I'm not, I'm not directing my frustration at you.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, no, sorry.
I'm right there with you, just as long as you know.
Yeah, but there's, we better get that information quickly so that the town can discuss it. I still can't believe within, 2 weeks of town meeting, we're being told we could be asked anywhere from $2 to $25 million for a sewer article, when there hasn't been a public forum about it, there hasn't been a discussion about it. Like, it's kind of, and it's so important to the town, in my opinion, for the common to revitalize it the way, putting so much work into that. But we have there's no update about the most important part of that. So it's not really for this, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me.
So I think that's one thing that we need to really understand. Like, yes, we're focusing on the sports field where we say, we really don't control our own destiny. The reality of the situation is there's nothing that we control our own destiny on when it comes down to space in the town and recreation.
Right.
We don't have any of our own space. If you're really, it's just one of those things, and we have to keep that in mind because you hit the nail on the head there. If tomorrow, the schools said, hey, we're going to go this route, well, that's a problem. We don't have
So
anywhere to
wouldn't it be
go.
great to own a field that we could?
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I mean, how do we generate that? I mean, we need money. That's the problem.
a field isn't necessarily our highest priority.
Granted, Alumni Field is not in our possession. It's the school's property. But, when you're politically trying to get a new field, I see the politics aren't going to be there
Right.
for us to ask for $1.5 million, $2 million to do a field. I mean, that's another issue I see with
The
Cooper.
last time I heard it, the cost was closer to $1 million.
Well, whatever it's going to cost,
And
that's.
the other thing is, we work closely with the youth sports organizations, but they're not our programs. So to invest, $1 million+ worth of this department's money into a field that, it's one of those things that we have to look at. What's going to perpetuate this department, and right now it's our priorities lay in possibly, you know, better parking, better structures in our parks, things like that. Just in general. You know, our users of PRCE also use the youth sports, but youth sports don't fall under our jurisdiction for the most part.
All right, so we'll take that as homework.
Please.
All right. Try
'Cause
to,
we
you know,
do-
come up with a list of what you think we should prioritize, talk to people, you know, bounce ideas, solicit needs and wants from your social circles, and maybe we can come back with a better idea in November. All right, so moving on, events. So again, we had Oktoberfest this past Saturday. I've heard the Littleton Sub Shop mentioned a couple times, but when I met with you on Friday, you mentioned all the help we were getting. We got the Radas donated their porta potties. Is that correct?
Porta potties and hand washing stations.
Hand washing stations. So, I mean, let's give some props to the other
Yeah,
sponsors as well.
So RM Radicorp donated 5 porta potties and 2 hand washing stations. The Metrano Removal Service.
No relation.
No
in
relation.
relation to Kevin. Donated
That's full disclosure.
donated the 6-yard dumpster. So basically, it was our last month worth of what we were paying for at the beach. They moved it over here. They had emptied it over here to Fay Park and did trash removal for the entire park. Rapscallion Tap and Table donated a keg of their handmade root beer for the kids' beer garden. And we were able to collect all the revenue on that for the scholarship fund. Andrea's Littleton Cafe was one of our food vendors. Ed's Weenies as well. We had a significant discount given to us by Busy Bee Jumpers on the inflatables that were of no charge to us, no charge to the participants. They were the football games, soccer games, and everything else. We had a donation by Martinez Inflatables for the bull ride and the bounce house wristbands towards the scholarship fund. We did pretzel sales through Andrea's shop that were donated to us at a lowered cost from True West Brewery in Acton. And obviously the Littleton Sub Shop went above and beyond with their keg truck and all the food offerings and everything else that they had. So once everybody kind of catches their breath and starts to get all of their billing and stuff done, I'll give you guys some final numbers on what they were able to donate, and we'll see where we end up. But it definitely was a very well-received event.
Mhm.
The couple hiccups that we had were all behind the scenes, not transparent to anybody that was really going on, and it was little things like, you know, trash cans and the fryers for the sub shop didn't necessarily want to fire up, and all little things that can be overcome. So definitely a huge shout out to all of the Littleton High School students for volunteering your time and getting some community service hours. As always, we have those opportunities available at most of our special events. So please get a hold of Alyssa Maurice if you're looking for volunteer time. She can get you headed in our direction. Huge thank you to Alyssa Maurice, who's doing an internship with us this semester for Littleton High School in event management. She'll be attending the Rosin School for UCF down in Florida this coming year to go into event management. So she's been a great asset to the team for a couple years now. She started up in our snack shack, so another person who's been coming up for the ranks, and absolutely stellar young person in our community. So if I'm forgetting anybody, I will make sure I amend that later. But yeah, we had a great turnout. Thank you to the town of Littleton, the band, Upa's Upa Band from New Hampshire. They were great, and everybody. Thank you, John Kazanjian.
Yeah, thank you, John. Did a good job. Yeah, no, just when you were talking to me on Friday, I was amazed at the amount of donations and sponsorships, I guess, that people were just willing to donate for the event. So just goes to speaks to the community coming together in more ways than just getting together for a few beers. So that was a really good event. So great job.
Thank you to the Littleton Police Department.
Yes. Oh, actually, now that you mentioned that, I did. I think I forwarded it to you guys. I emailed Chief and Deputy Patterson. just to solicit their feedback on the event and how it went, and they said it was great, went smooth. They fully endorsed this event going forward, so we should have their blessing for future events like this one. We have upcoming events. We have Trunk or Treat on October 26th.
Yeah, so we got a trunk or treat coming up on October 26th, 3 to 5 in 300 King Street. We will be meeting at Town Hall at 2:45 for the annual parade down to 300 King Street. We'll be leaving about 2:55 and headed down there. Anybody who wants to be a trunk decorator, please get on our website and click on the link and submit your proposal for your trunk and your decorations and all of that. The only thing that's required of you is to have candy to hand out. So if you have any questions about trunk or treat, just give me a call in the office. And then the next event that we have coming up is our Holiday Helpers 5K. We'll be partnering with The Point once again. The Point will be footing the bill for all of the race event kind of put on stuff, so all the medals, all the t-shirts, trophies, and everything that comes with that, so that once again 100% of the proceeds can be going towards our Holiday Helpers program. Last year we were able to donate $11,800 worth of gifts total. We were able to fulfill everyone's 3 wants and 3 wishes. 3 wants and 3 needs. We're also working with Tavern in the Square is going to do a night where they're going to donate a certain portion of all the meal checks back to the Holiday Helpers program. And Nick Goretti from the Point Management Company is working on some other stuff. So
Great.
more to come. The race link is open. There is early registration to get in there and do. I believe it's about beginning of November. The race cost goes up. It was an awesome event last year. Everything happens in the foyer O'Neill Cinema, kickoff and ending. The race around the point, just kind of, it's a pretty grueling.
What time does it start?
8 a.m., 8 to noon. It's a pretty grueling race course because you have to go up that hill 6 times. So you definitely.
It's a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Holiday Helpers, and then I believe it's January 25th, the last Saturday in January, we will be doing the second edition of the revised Fire and Ice. So since it went on its hiatus for all those years,
Yeah.
so it is January 25th, and that's as far out as I am right now.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Anybody have new business? Fantastic. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.